welcome to Rough Cut Film Review. This is a review of The Mortal Instruments City of Bones, probably the longest title I've ever done. So this is a rather unwieldy title for something that, again, is trying to fill the Hogwarty, Twilighty shaped vacuum we currently find. It's based on a series of books which I've never heard of, let alone read. So this is aimed at a slightly older audience to Hogwarts. It's the teen market, but there's a hint of Blade in there, or Underworlld as well, and there's a bit of post-Matrix silliness in its themes and cinematography. This one is brought to us by the legendary auteur Harold Zwart, who brought us such delights as Agent Cody Banks and the 2010 remake of The Karate Kid that no one asked for. Basically, again, in the mortal city of Bones Instruments, we have attractive people in their 20s pretending to be teens. We start with a teenage girl who is looking for who she is, what she's all about. It's clear that her mum and her partner are keeping secrets from her. It's her birthday, so she goes to a nightclub and is surprised to go in, because she's young, although she's not actually. The nightclub is basically a toned down club akin to that great scene in Blade, when they go to the club and there's all the vampires, spoiler alert. From here we have the usual mythical creatures, a world that us humans don't know is there, and lots of talk of demons and demon hunters and rain and chase scenes and plenty of mild peril. We get very little sense of this teenager other than the fact that she's attractive, she likes bad poetry and coffee, and her hipster male friend is definitely in love with her. In this film we also get dialogue like, "I am a Shadowhunter and I will protect you with my life." Oh, thanks, that's good of you. In Hogwarts they called us ghastly proles muggles, and here they call us that aren't anything special at all the mundane, which if anything is actually a lot worse than muggle. The mundane, that's us ghastly proles going about our day-to-day life. And I've got a bit of a bugbear with this really, because at the moment 99% of society seems to be begging for the zombie apocalypse to turn up and cleanse the world of approximately 99% of the population. And then a good number of people seem to be thinking along these lines, that they're chosen by destiny and the teeming masses are irrelevant breeders who go around their dull existence watching Strictly Come Dancing and eating chicken dippers and basically being of no consequence whatsoever, and yet they are so important. Although maybe that's just all teenagers in general, I don't know. So the baddie here is called Valentine. He steals a mortal cup that definitely isn't the Goblet of Fire, and they have all sorts of problems trying to make this cup look important, because it is just a sort of a goblet-y thing, and they sort of, look. There's something called the cleave. The cup is stolen from the cleave or clave, something like that. There's lots of silly words, so many plot holes. It's got the sort of Harry Potter style terrible parenting in there, and apparently if your child starts to draw what looks like swastikas on a notepad, they're sort of doodling swastikas, it's time to take them to see a warlock to give them some special brain treatment and not a psychiatrist. There's a love triangle between, our attractive young heroine and the two men in her life, which is just awful. It's really badly played, and I ended up completely cold with the heroine because it's just played so badly that she comes across as such an unbelievable. I don't swear in the show, but she really just isn't a nice person. Unfortunately, far too much of the dialogue is exposition. Now we're in the City of Bones. This is where the Humpelnickels of the Woofley Woods gain their power, and we get things, again, it's dialogue like, "You must listen with your mind." Alright, thanks, what does that mean? But let's talk anyway, though. I mean, we'll say we're doing it with our minds, but let's talk, because the audience can't hear our thoughts, so that's a bit of a misstep. To be fair, the orchestral score is pretty good, and it's suitably bombastic when it needs to be, although the tacky pop songs that are interspersed in there don't really help things along. All in all, it's just rather underwhelming, to be honest. Loads of plot holes, doesn't really make sense, the characters run forgettable and uninteresting, and crucially the main character is a bit of a bee. I've never actually said that before, but trying to avoid swearing, she really is. The cast are all picked because of the way they look rather than the way they actually act, and just all round there's a lack of self-awareness. Even though Percy Jackson and the Sea Monsters may have been, not the greatest film ever made, looking back it was a bit racist probably, they did have a bit of a wry smile at least, and they had a bit of a self-awareness of just how silly the whole thing was. Here characters are called things like Marcus Bain and no one snickers, it's that sort of, really? I just get the feeling they're not really trying very hard. There's also supposed to be, just to give you a sense of it, there's supposed to be there's a scene in there which is supposed to be flirty and really sort of sexually charged, involving a piano, and it's really poor stuff, and you feel slightly embarrassed. And we've got this sort of Dan Brown theme or conspiracy around the music of Bach, and really, why? It just seems so arbitrary. And I'm pretty sure that the Bermuda Triangle was mentioned in Percy Jackson as well. That was sort of a plot point in both of these films. I'd be very surprised if the Mortal Instruments City of Bone gets the sequel that it so clearly planning. It's just another franchise trying to elbow its way onto the tube train, along with so many similar ones. It's not terrible, but by the same token, there really isn't anything here to recommend it. I'd recommend you just watch The Hunger Games again if this takes your fancy. And, you know, I have to say, while I don't feel particularly kind to Percy Jackson and the something of sea monsters, it does at least have a sense of humour about itself, and I am feeling a lot kinder about it now I've seen what the alternative is. Kind regards, Christopher Thomas.